Namaste and welcome to Life Lessons from the Upanishads, where ancient wisdom meets modern life. I am Dr. Surendra, your guide on this journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth. Today, we'll explore a very deep and often misunderstood topic, obsessed with sexual thoughts. In today's fast-paced, media-driven world, we often find ourselves overwhelmed by thoughts that we may feel are difficult to control, sexual thoughts being one of them. Many people feel guilty or confused about these thoughts, not realizing that they are part of the human experience. But do these thoughts truly define us? Or is there a deeper truth waiting to be uncovered? Let's look at this through the lens of the Upanishads, which hold profound insights on human desires, the nature of the mind, and our ultimate goal in life, Moksha, liberation. Part 1. Understanding the Mind and Desires. In the Upanishads, we are taught that the mind is a vast ocean, filled with waves of thoughts, desires, and emotions. The mind, or manas, is often compared to a restless horse, constantly pulling us in different directions. Sexual thoughts are just one of these distractions. The Katha Upanishad beautifully presents the idea of the body and mind as a chariot. The charioteer is Buddhi, intellect, the horses are the senses, and the body is the chariot. The Upanishad asks us, who is the true rider of this chariot? Just as a rider controls the horses with reins, the intellect must control the senses. But when we lose control over our senses, we become slaves to our desires, be it hunger, anger, or sexual thoughts. This is the root cause of the obsession with fleeting pleasures. The Upanishads explain that desires arise from Avidya, ignorance of our true nature. We often think of ourselves as our bodies or minds, but the Upanishads tell us that we are the eternal soul or Atman beyond all these temporary distractions. Example from the Upanishads. In the Chandogya Upanishad, it is stated, you are not the body. You are not the mind. You are the Atman, the immortal soul within. This is an essential understanding. When we identify with our physical form, we get trapped in desires, including sexual thoughts. But when we recognize our true self as the Atman, the power to detach ourselves from fleeting thoughts becomes possible. Part 2. The nature of desires and liberation. The Upanishads also tell us that desires are not inherently bad. Desires are a natural part of life. They're the force that propels us forward in the world. However, when we get attached to them, when we allow them to dictate our actions and thoughts, we are bound in cycles of pleasure and pain. Let's take a deep dive into this. In the Munda Upanishad, we learn that true wisdom lies in transcending the limitations of worldly desires. The text says, the one who has realized the truth of the self sees no difference between a worm, a dog, and a wise person. The enlightened soul understands that all beings are equal, and thus they rise above superficial desires. This profound teaching highlights that when we rise above surface-level attractions, whether they are sexual desires, material ambitions, or emotional attachments, we begin to experience peace and inner freedom. It is the understanding that these desires are temporary, and that our true self is beyond them that leads to liberation. Practical insights. The challenge, however, is learning to manage our desires in the modern world, where sexual imagery and attraction are often commodified and sensationalized. The Upanishads teach us the power of self-control through practices such as meditation and mindfulness. When sexual thoughts arise, instead of suppressing or rejecting them, we can observe them with detachment. This detachment doesn't mean ignoring or avoiding them. It means recognizing these thoughts for what they are, temporary, fleeting, and not essential to our true nature. Part 3. Meditation and self-realization as solutions. So, what is the solution to overcoming this obsession with sexual thoughts, or any other obsessive thoughts for that matter? The Upanishads offer a clear answer: meditation and self-realization. Through meditation, we become aware of the mind's fluctuations and learn to control them. In the Mandukya Upanishad, we are taught that the mind operates in different states waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. But there is a fourth state, Turiya, which is the state of pure consciousness. This is the state where the mind is free from all distractions, including sexual thoughts. By practicing meditation and focusing on the breath or the sound of Om, we can move toward this higher state of awareness. Case study. Let me share a brief story to illustrate this. There was once a great sage named Vasishtha who was deeply troubled by the powerful desires that overtook his mind. He sought guidance from his teacher, Brahmarshi Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra explained to him that desires are like clouds, they pass by, but if we identify with them, we feel stuck in them. He advised Vasishtha to practice meditation on the nature of the soul, which transcends all desires. Over time, Vasishtha was able to transcend his attachments and achieved a state of equanimity, where he was no longer affected by fleeting thoughts or desires. This is the power of self-realization. When we come to understand that we are not our desires, that we are not our thoughts, we can break free from obsessive thinking. The Upanishads constantly remind us that moksha, liberation, is not something to be gained outside of ourselves, but something that arises when we realize our true, unchanging nature. Part 4. The role of knowledge and discernment. Finally, one of the core teachings of the Upanishads is the importance of Jñāna, knowledge, and Viveka, discernment. When we gain true knowledge of the self, the Atman, we can discern what is real from what is unreal. Viveka teaches us to distinguish between the transient and the eternal. In the Bhagavad Gita, which complements the teachings of the Upanishads, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, when you realize the impermanence of the body and the eternal nature of the soul, your attachment to physical desires, including sexual thoughts, will lessen. This knowledge helps us rise above the constant pull of desires and makes it easier to redirect our attention to higher pursuits, spiritual growth, self-awareness, and the realization of our oneness with the universe. Conclusion. So, to summarize, sexual thoughts are a natural part of human life, but they do not define us. The Upanishads teach us that we are beyond the body and mind, we are the Atman, eternal and untouched by worldly desires. Through practices like meditation, mindfulness, and gaining self-knowledge, we can transcend our attachment to fleeting desires and achieve true inner peace. As you move forward, remember that the key is not to suppress your thoughts, but to observe them without attachment. Practice self-awareness, and as you gradually become more attuned to your true nature, the pull of desires will become weaker. Thank you for joining me today on this deep exploration of the Upanishads. If this episode resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Life Lessons from the Upanishads. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, where we'll continue our journey of discovering ancient wisdom for modern life. Until then, stay peaceful, stay connected, and remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the infinite, eternal soul.